Hi, I'm Louis, and I'm your corporate story coach. And for the next few minutes, we're going to explore the idea around why do we actually tell stories? Why do stories matter, especially in a corporate environment? Why is it important for us to think about a story? Let me tell you a story. In 1974, a gentleman, Philippe Petit, a French aerialist, strung a cable between the World Trade Centers in New York City, and he proceeded to take a walk one early morning out on that wire. And he walked for 45 minutes. He did 8 passes back and forth, and that's what he did that morning. I just told you a story. It was a story of of what he did. Now, if I were to tell you that if you've been in New York, you know what it's like in the morning. They did this wire hanging at night, and so early morning, crowds are rushing around. There's a lot of commotion on the street. It's kind of overcast, a kind of foggy morning. And there he is, he's starting to walk back and forth. And people on the street are beginning to look up, and they're seeing this dot move in between the buildings, and it starts to make a commotion. Now I've told you what would be considered a good story, because chances are you're able to see something. You're able, especially if you've been in New York or whatever, you probably see and you kind of figure out what that looks like. Philippe Petit, I actually had the opportunity to share a stage with him at a conference in which he was recounting his experience, which is done so well in a movie and a book of his. But he's on stage recounting this, and he's standing in the spotlight, and he has this. He's holding this pretend pole in his hand, and he's discussing what he's thinking. And he's thinking, okay, I'm on the building, and my right foot is on the building, but I take my left foot out and I just put it on the wire. And as he was describing what he was thinking as he was on that wire, he said, my left foot's on this wire and I can feel it moving about a bit. And I know as I get farther out away from the building, it's going to be a little more wobbly. And I'm considering the fact that how we've tested this and everything's going through his mind, all this. But he still feels safe because his right foot is firmly planted on the building. But he knows at some point he's going to have to commit. And while he's describing this on the stage, at some point he goes, and finally I committed. And when he did that, on the stage, he just put his right foot in front of his left foot and put it down on the floor. And when he made that motion, almost everyone in the audience, the thousands of people that were in the audience, we almost had like a sigh because we felt it. Great stories help you feel something. A good story informs you. A better story will help you kind of see something better. A great story helps you feel something. And the reason you want to understand what great stories are and why great stories are important is that Bill Gurley, who's an entrepreneur, an investor, someone who gives advice to companies, he said this: great storytellers have an unfair competitive advantage. And I used to tell our salespeople, if you have the greatest idea, the greatest product, whatever that is, and you have a mediocre story, and I have a mediocre product or an idea, something that's maybe not so good, but I have a great story, I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to beat you every day. Because great stories are what captivates people. And the reason great stories matter is because their target is a little different than a lot of what we do in a corporate world. In a corporate world, we're often about informing people, making sure that I give you enough information that you're going to make the right decision. So what I'm doing is I'm pointing towards your mind. I want you to remember something. I want you to see something, to understand the facts, understand the feature, understand what this means. I want you to understand these things. And all too often, we're aiming at the mind. Whereas we as humans, for us to have evolved to where we're at today, we make decisions very rapidly. We are evolved to where we're at because we do make decisions quickly. And we make decisions with our heart, and often we say with our gut. But we make decisions with our heart, and then we look to our mind. We look for data to back that up. In fact, it's actually been proven that once I make a decision with my heart, I'm looking for data to back it up. And if the data doesn't exist, I'll actually even make up that data in order to support that, because I, as a person, do not want to be wrong. My mind doesn't want to be wrong. And so I'm going to make that decision. So what you have to understand is you have to understand that's what's in play. And so the matter is, instead of speaking to someone's mind, you need to speak to their heart. In fact, Jeffrey Gitomer, who's a great author of sales books and so forth, he wrote the Little Red Book of Selling. He once said, pull on the heart and the wallet will pop out. Now, that sounds very crass and salesy, but think about it. Think about the fact of if you want someone to invest, if you want someone to spend some time or to invest their attention or their focus or their resources in something, that's basically their wallet. And if you doubt that, think about, for those of you who have small children, I actually have 8 grandchildren, and I can tell you, ask, how many deals do your kids close? They close every deal because they know where the heart is. I don't have my grandson who didn't come up to me and say, Granddad, I need to get out in the air more, open air. I need to get some strength and agility. I need to be in the sunshine. I need to, exercise and balance. And so therefore I need a play set. That's not the way he didn't come and reason with me. He just came up to me and just said, Papa, can I have a play set? And the next weekend, his father and I are out in their yard building a play set because they know where the heart is. And you need to know that the people that you're speaking to, be it a corporate person, be it in a business suit, I don't care what they're dressed like, they have a heart. And that's what you need to go for. You need to go for the heart because the heart is what really matters. And so you want to understand what it is that makes that tick, and you want to go for that. And be assured, too, that your job is, again, not for them just to listen to something or to hear something. In fact, there's a saying, it's not what they hear, but it's what they understand. And I actually think that falls a bit short. It's not just what they hear or what they understand, but what they're going to remember. People are going to remember things that are stories because stories are containers of meaning. If you want to think back to some of the things that you learned, especially as you go into grade school and some of the formative years, think about the things that you learned that were impacted inside of stories. If you take some facts, if you take some things and embed them inside of stories, it will connect to people. And people will remember those. And that's what you want to do. You want to be memorable because the memories that we have and the things that we hold on to that came from our heart, that translated to our mind, those are the ones that are actually going to change some of the behaviors. And remember, you're in the business of moving people through a journey. You want to be able to tell stories that are impactful, that are memorable, that are going to lead them to that. Because again, that gives you the ability to show meaning. The heart is where the meaning is actually shown. So that's where you want to do. So think about the fact of stories. You want to have great stories. You want to get people to feel something. If you can get them to relive something, even better. And show them how their story is going to be different.